Good afternoon and welcome to the Best Practices for Packaging Applications InduSoft webinar. My name is Fabio Teresino. I will be the host of this meeting. And if any of you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to use the WebEx toolbar at the top of your monitor and write your questions or comments at the chat box, or even at the Q&A box, also from the WebEx toolbar on the top of your monitor. The agenda is pretty much a brief overview about one real-world application, actually a set of applications, a complete solution developed with InduSoft Web Studio for Mother Parkers, a large packaging company. Then we will talk about the advantages of InduSoft Web Studio solution and some of the main features and characteristics of InduSoft and tools that you could use in packaging applications to take advantage of those characteristics. And finally, I will provide some tips and tricks from the design point of view that could be useful when designing applications for packaging machines with InduSoft Web Studio. Finally, we will reserve something between 15 to 10 minutes for Q&A. And again, if you have questions or comments, feel free to write them at the chat box or Q&A box at the WebEx toolbar at the top of your monitor. So first of all, about the real-world solution, the Mother Parkers case study. If you go to InduSoft.com, we have under marketing case studies, dozens and dozens of case studies about successful applications in different industries. And I just selected this one because it's interesting how they went from the traditional operational set of features for the HMI to a more holistic managerial goal for the application. So as most of you know, Mother Parkers is a very large packaging company. In one of their facilities in Fort Worth, Texas, where they have more than 100,000 square footage on the plant floor, they used InduSoft in 17 lines. So each one of the lines has an HMI running InduSoft Web Studio for local operation. In addition to that, there is a central server running InduSoft Web Studio as well, collecting data from all the 17 lines and saving this information to a database, working as a portal for thin clients where they can get online data or history data and reports with information about the production. So when the plant was built, the capacity was about 20 million pounds of products per year, and now the production is beyond 130 million pounds of products per year and more than 600 SKUs, more than 600 different products, and they can manage and monitor all the production using InduSoft Web Studio. So the original screens were created originally like this, mostly for the operation of the machines. So typical screens where operators can change set points, can monitor levels, temperatures, can change set points. But eventually the system evolved to collect data, save to database, and provide dashboards and reports where managers and supervisors can tell precisely what is the cost associated with any particular blend. So InduSoft Web Studio was connected not only to the PLCs that control the machines and the IOs and barcode readers, but also to the ERP system using the database interface from InduSoft Web Studio. So we can save data to databases and collect data from databases, and at any point they can visualize the history per SKU, per machine, per line, per shift, and create reports that show them what happened in the past and therefore associate costs to each one of the products. So, talking about the main advantages of the InduSoft solution for the packing industry, first of all is what we call the power of choice, the ability that our customers have to design applications and then deploy and run those applications in any device running a standard Windows operating system. From Windows Mobile to Windows CE, Windows XP, Windows Embedded, Windows 7, Windows 8, or even Windows Server 2003, 2008, or 2012, 32 or 64 bits. So when you design the applications, you do not worry about the platform where you intend to deploy the application. And once the application is done, you can deploy that in many different platforms from different vendors, from different hardware manufacturers, as long as they are running a current Windows operating system. And we also guarantee 100% of compatibility with applications created in previous versions of the product, and it helps you to protect the investment you make when you design applications or templates or libraries within the InduSoft Web Studio, because all those components will be available and supported by newer versions of InduSoft Web Studio running on newer versions of the operating system. So it's all about protecting the investment you make when you design an application, and in this case with InduSoft Web Studio. In packaging, usually what we see is a set of different devices and different PLCs, different barcode readers, RFID readers, sometimes robots from different manufacturers with different protocols. So in InduSoft, we offer more than 240 native communication drivers to different protocols from all the Omron PLCs, TwinCat PLCs, GE Fanuc, Allen Bradley, Siemens, standard protocols like Modbus TCP, Modbus RTS, proprietary protocols like Profibus, Interbus, DeviceNet, and all those drivers are installed along with the product. In addition to the drivers, we also provide the OPC client interface, so you can link InduSoft to devices in the plant floor through a third-party OPC server. In most cases, customers decide to use drivers because you have direct communication with the devices and you don't have to use a middleware like the OPC server. But in cases where you have a device for which we do not have a native communication driver, or if you have several systems that need to communicate with that device, then an OPC server makes sense, and we fully support different specifications from OPC. All the main current ones, including OPC-DA, .NET, XML, and UA. Provide an open architecture with APIs, a state-of-art interface to databases. We even have a patent that allows you to save and retrieve data from SQL relational databases, and tools to exchange data between two or more stations running InduSoft Web Studio. From the deployment point of view, especially for machine builders, you have many different options. So you design the application in a development computer, in a regular PC, and once the application is done, you can download the application to an embedded device running Windows CE, Windows Embedded, or a local HMI running again Windows CE, Windows Embedded, Windows 7, or a regular PC or server running Windows 8, Windows 7, Windows 2003, 2008, or 2012 server. And the same application runs on all those different platforms. And typically, you have an embedded device, a local HMI, or a PC at the machine or line level. And then you have a server at the plant level, or even on a public cloud or private cloud on the internet, collecting data from different plants. So you could have many different tiers, like one station on each machine for the operation of the machine. You could have one station on the line to monitor the whole line. You could have one station at the plant consolidating information from all the plants for the entire plant. And a final server on the cloud, on a public or virtual cloud, consolidating information from all the plants. And at each one of those levels, InduSoft Web Studio provides tools to filter the information and provide to the next level only the consolidated information that's meaningful to the next level. For instance, tools to change set points for temperature and things like that may be extremely important on the machine level, on the operator level, but do not have any meaning on the plant level, for example. And in addition to the stations where you run InduSoft Web Studio, where you install the license and installs the product, we also support what we call thin client stations, which are remote computers which provides access to the graphical interface, the screens, online data, and history data managed by InduSoft Web Studio. And on those thin client stations, you do not have to install InduSoft Web Studio, nor the application, nor the license. So you are able to access the information from any remote device, wherever you are, without having to install or license the package on those stations. We support three types of thin clients. We have what we call the web thin clients, the secure viewer thin clients, and the SMA Studio Mobile Access thin clients. In the web thin clients, you use Internet Explorer as the web browser, and you have access to all the screens, all the interfaces, online data, and history data, obviously based on username and password. So the supervisor could just open the Internet Explorer browser from his office, type the IP address from one computer, one machine station, and get online data and history data about that station directly from his web browser without having to install or license the application on his computer. We also have the secure viewer thin clients, which is very common in large machines where you need more than one HMI, but instead of installing InduSoft Web Studio and the application in each one of the stations, you can install in just one. And in the other stations, you just use a secure viewer thin client, a terminal that has access to all the screens, all the information. The user can navigate through different screens individually on each thin client, but still they share the application that is running on the runtime station, on the server station. So you can reduce the cost for the licenses, but especially you can reduce the cost of maintenance because you have to maintain the application only in one station, and the time to repair thin clients is much shorter as well, because if you have to replace the hardware in a thin client, you just plug a new one, configure the IP address of the server, and you are up and running again. Finally, we have a third solution for thin clients called Studio Mobile Access, SMA, and this is a solution designed mainly with a technology called HTML5, and the idea is to provide a thin client solution which is platform agnostic, that runs on Windows but also on other platforms. So the whole idea behind it is to provide a solution where you can use any device, could be a desktop, a notebook, a tablet, even a cell phone or PDA, with any browser, could be Internet Explorer or Chrome or Safari, running under any platform. Could be Windows, Android, iOS, Linux, or even others. And then using the SMA thin client with any of those devices running any of those browsers on any of those platforms, you can access the graphical screens from InduSoft Web Studio, and you don't have to install any plugins on the devices. It uses the standard HTML5 technology, so any browser that supports HTML5, and all the high-end browsers support HTML5 or are going to support HTML5 in the near future, will be able to host the application, and you can visualize your graphical screens, your shapes, your animations, your tag values from a mobile device, a cell phone, a tablet, a regular PC, or even a server. So it's a platform agnostic thin client that's becoming more and more popular, especially in packaging machines. And this architecture is also becoming more mainstream, where you typically have a local HMI collecting data from the machine, exchanging data with the local PLC, with the local IOs, and even storing some data locally. And in each machine or each line, you have this local HMI, but you also have a central server at the plant or even on the cloud, receiving information from all the machines, from all the lines. InduSoft Web Studio filters the data, consolidates the data, and then pushes the data to the central server, which consolidates information from different machines, lines, or even plants, and saves this data into a central database, and then becomes a portal for remote thin clients that can access reports, online data, and history data from this server using any of the thin clients supported by InduSoft Web Studio, and they do not even have to hit the network, the control network, the stations that are running the application. The thin clients connect to the central server as well, so it provides an additional level of security for your architecture and for your solution. Interfaces to databases is becoming more and more popular and mainstream on SCADA HMI applications, especially again on packaging. And even though InduSoft Web Studio has built-in tools to save history data into proprietary binary files or text files, we created a state-of-art solution which allows you to save and retrieve data from any SQL relational database, like SQL Server, Oracle, Sybase, MySQL, and so on and so forth. The main advantage is that you can very easily integrate InduSoft to your ERP, just like Mother Parkers did, and then the SCADA HMI station can automatically get information from your ERP system about orders or inventory or material, whatever is relevant for your application, and can also save production information, meaningful information like downtime, uptime, number of scraps, cycle time to a database in a format that allows you to generate dashboards, generate reports and statistical information or graphical information in a very easy and short time. So this is just an example. If you go to InduSoft.com under products, you can download the example OEE. It's freely available to download. This is just an example and a template that has been used in many different applications to provide OEE information on the machine level, line level, plant level, or even global. So I believe most of you are familiar with OEE, overall equipment effectiveness, but pretty much is a key performance indicator, a KPI, that indicates how well your machine or your process is working. It's a number from 0 to 100%, where 100% is perfect and 0 is obviously no production at all. And the OEE is calculated based on other three primary KPIs, which are availability, performance, and quality, where availability is based on the uptime compared to the total time where the machine should be available. Performance is based on the cycle speed, based on the theoretical cycle speed for the machine. Good quality is pretty much the number of good units produced divided by the total units produced by the machine. So you have those three KPIs from 0 to 100%, and the combination of those three KPIs provides the OEE. So here in my computer, I have this OEE application running. You can also download it free of charge from the InduSoft website, and I can go here to the plant level, to the line level, or machine level, select a period of time, and InduSoft shows me the online information for each one of the KPIs, from the raw data here, uptime, downtime, to availability, performance, and quality, and finally the overall OEE. It shows the actual values. You can see if you are above or below your targets for each one of them, and you can see also how the OEE and those KPI variables vary over time. So you can analyze the information at a glance, the current values, and also the history values. And this is just a simple example. It can evolve to much more sophisticated tools where you can compare different shifts, different machines, different plants, different SKUs, and pinpoint areas that you can invest to improve the overall productivity. For instance, invest in training for a particular shift, or calibrate one particular machine, or increase the cost assigned to a particular product. But the foundation, the baseline for all this calculation, data acquisition, data storage, and the reports, the graphical interface, is all available to you on this template. There is a more sophisticated template and more generic one called BI Dashboards Template, which is a product by itself, and it is available to be purchased as a product directly from InduSoft. It's an add-on for InduSoft Web Studio. It received the Control Engineering Magazine Award for Best BI Dashboard Product on this year in 2013. And I can run this application here. But the bottom line is this tool allows you to link InduSoft Web Studio to any SQL relational database, either created by InduSoft or created by a different package, and create dashboards with charts like pie charts, Pareto charts, bar charts, trends, tables, to display information from those databases. So just to demonstrate the main functionality, I can log on as administrator here and create a new project like packaging afternoon. It's a new project. The first step is to link InduSoft to a database. So I'm going to link it to a MDB file, but could be SQL Server, could be different databases here. And now I can create a new query, a new connection to read information from this database. So we show here automatically the columns you have in the database, in the tables, the list of tables. So you can very easily select one table that contains the information you need and add this table to the project. You can also create sophisticated SQLs joining different tables if you want to. Very well. And here in Dashboards, you finally create the graphical format. Define the graphical format for or layout for your dashboard. So for instance, you can select this one and then create a chart for each one of those divisions. So you can say, I want to query data from using this query, and I want to show a pie chart using this column for labels, this column for values, and show those colors. And InduSoft retrieves the data from the database and shows the chart to you. Here you might want to use, let's say, from the same query, a table, and InduSoft simply triggers, reads the data from the database and shows the information in the table to you. Here you could show, for instance, from the same query, a Pareto chart, reading data from this column and the values from this column, and let's say I want it to be yellow. And then you have your Pareto chart. So it could be any data available in the database. Could be, for instance, the most common causes of downtime in one line. The pie chart could be the number of pieces produced by each machine, or for each shift, or by each line. So you can build and customize your dashboards in any way you want, and then if you want, even generate reports and save them as PDFs or send them directly to the printer. So it's a very easy to use but complete tool to read information from databases and create your dashboards at a glance, on demand. You can customize the dashboards as you want during the runtime. Finally, we have another add-on called Dream Reports. Again, if you go to www.indusoft.com, you can go to the store under third-party add-ons, and you can download and purchase the Dream Report add-on directly from the InduSoft website, and it allows you to create graphical, sophisticated reports, and it is fully integrated to InduSoft Web Studio. So it can recognize alarms, events, train information, process data saved by InduSoft Web Studio in a SQL relational database, and it provides very intuitive tools that allows you to customize the reports and generate the reports automatically or based on events. Another trend we are seeing growing very quickly on the packaging industry is the demand for intuitive interfaces like gestures and multi-touch. And the current version of InduSoft Web Studio provides tools that allows you to create applications taking full advantage of gestures and multi-touch if your hardware device supports multi-touch interfaces. So just to demonstrate some of the main features that we support for multi-touch, can come here to multi-touch and use, for instance, 2 fingers to rotate this dial here and make a selection, pretty much rotate this object using 2 fingers. I can also use 2 fingers with the pinch gesture to zoom objects in and out. I can even throw them on the screen using inertia, or using two fingers to rotate the object as well. So I have full control of this object using intuitive multi-touch gestures. I can also use sliders like this one to show or hide banners, list of alarms, list of events, whatever you have there. You can also use 2 fingers to zoom the entire screen in and out and visualize a particular piece of the line. For example, if you have several machines in the line, and then operate them or get more details from that particular line. Support for dual commands, so you can force the operator to click in more than one area on the screen at the same time to trigger an action. So if by mistake they click on the button to turn on something, nothing happens. They have to click somewhere, like in enabler, and then click somewhere else in the screen to turn the action on and off. And we support as many finger points, touch points as your hardware supports, 2, 5, 10, and as you can see here, I can control each one of them individually with my fingers. So not only InduSoft was a pioneer supporting multi-touch in HMI SCADA, but we have, based on our benchmark tests, the most efficient and the best performance with multi-touch. We do not even require DirectX in order to support multi-touch in your devices, in your HMIs. Many customers also are using remote notification tools as available in the InduSoft Web Studio. So you have the ability to configure InduSoft, to link InduSoft to a remote SMTP server and send alarms or any other messages by email or text message automatically from InduSoft Web Studio. So the time to repair a problem in the plant can be drastically reduced since you receive a notification about a critical problem automatically. And then you can go to the plant and investigate and eventually fix the problem. But you don't have to wait until you or someone else go to the system and get the alarm on the system. You can receive a remote notification automatically. Linked symbols is a feature available in the product for quite some time, but it's extremely useful and common in applications for packaging. It is pretty much the ability you have to create your own symbols, to create your own group of objects with animations, dynamics, create your own custom properties, and reuse these components over and over throughout the application. So for instance, if you have several tanks, you can create your own tank with level, with label, with indications, and then reuse this control, reuse this symbol many times to represent different tanks in the application and just assign different tags to the tanks. Or if you have, for instance, different temperature zones for different machines, you can create just one zone and duplicate or copy several times that zone throughout the application. And the main advantage of the linked symbols is if you created dozens or hundreds of symbols in the application and you want to enhance or modify it, you can modify the master symbol once, and all the instances of that symbol throughout the whole application are automatically updated. So you can save literally days and days of reconfiguration just by using the linked symbols, which is a built-in feature of InduSoft Web Studio. License server also has a lot of demands in packaging industries, where you have several stations running InduSoft Web Studio. And in the past, the only option you had was to install the license locally on each station running InduSoft Web Studio. With version 7.1 Spec 2 of InduSoft Web Studio, we also provide the option to use what we call license server, which means that you can have one computer in the network with a hard key, and in this hard key, you have the license settings, like the number of tags, number of thin clients, but also an additional parameter called number of concurrent servers. So, for instance, if you have a hard key in this server, and this hard key supports 4 stations, you can have up to 4 computers in the same network running InduSoft Web Studio and sharing the information from the hard key connected to the server. So in this case, you no longer have to install and maintain the license on each one of the computers individually, and if one of those computers fail, you can very quickly and easily replace it by a new one, install InduSoft Web Studio, but you do not have to wait on InduSoft or anybody else to license the station, because it will automatically be able to retrieve the license from the server license. So it's a very popular, it's growing in popularity, a very demanding solution, readily available in InduSoft Web Studio 7.1 Spec 2. Now we're going to talk about some more specific tips and tricks from the designing point of view when creating applications with InduSoft Web Studio, such as application resolution. So in the InduSoft Web Studio, we do allow you to configure some viewer settings, and one of them is the auto screen scaling. If you enable this option, InduSoft Web Studio will automatically rescale the screens during the runtime to fit whatever resolution you have in your monitor. However, it will keep the ratio between the original width and height of the screens, so circles do not become ellipses and squares do not become rectangles, for example. We keep the same ratio. And you can also enable application resolution, auto screen scaling, here on the project web interface. You can also enable auto screen scaling for the web thin client stations. It's important to define the platform and the license level here on the project target system while you develop the application. So if you exceed the number of tags or the features supported by your particular license, it will warn you before you deploy the application at the actual runtime device. When you use touchscreen devices, it's important to come here to Viewer and enable virtual keyboards. So all interfaces where the user can input data, but where you do not have a physical keyboard, InduSoft will automatically launch a virtual keyboard or virtual keypad, and it will allow the user to input numerical or alphanumerical values. and we recommend using the option Auto for built-in dialogues, so the size for the virtual keyboard and virtual keypad will scale automatically according to the resolution of your monitor. If you plan to translate the application, to localize the application to different idioms, to different languages in the future, we recommend providing, when you are designing the screens, reserving real estate, enough real estate to accommodate words that might be larger in other languages. So if you create, for instance, labels with the rectangle object from InduSoft, we recommend reserving some real estate, additional real estate, like 20 or 30%, to accommodate other languages. InduSoft Web Studio has the ability to wrap text and use additional lines if necessary, but if you design everything where all the text is way too close of each other, eventually it will not look good, even if when we wrap the text, if you translate to another language that requires more space. In the project communication, there is a very simple but very important setting where for driver and OPC, you can define send last state or send every state. It affects the writing commands to the devices only, does not affect the reading at all. But if you select send last state, on each cycle of the driver, it sends only the most current value of the tag that needs to be written to the PLC. If you select send every state, every time that a tag changes of value, it is buffered, and when the driver eventually catches up with the tag changes, then the driver sends not only the most current value of the tag, but all the values that the tag had since the last time that the driver wrote that tag value to the PLC. So if you have interfaces like, for instance, jogging or something else that changes tag values from 0 to 1 back to 0 very quickly and potentially faster than the driver cycle, then you should use send every state, so InduSoft will buffer all those changes of state and eventually write them all to the PLC. Otherwise, we recommend using send last state, which optimizes the documentation and sends only the most current value of each tag to the PLCs. In the tags database from InduSoft Web Studio, we support arrays and classes, and we strongly recommend you to use them since you can encapsulate your tags database and organize your tags database using arrays and classes. Like, for instance, if you have different machines, we can create a class here called CMachine. Let's say CMachines. And for each one of these class, we can have, for instance, uptime, downtime, bad units, good units, name of the machine, this one could be string, and so on and so forth. So I just created a class called CMachines with those 5 members. And now when I go to my tags database, I can create one tag, for instance, my machines, from the class CMachines. So now this tag, I have my machines dot uptime dot downtime. So I encapsulate all those properties in a single main tag. And if I have, for instance, 10 machines, I could change the array size to 10. And now I have 10 instances of the tag my machine. And in each instance, I have the 5 members: downtime, uptime, name, good pieces, bad pieces. So it helps me to organize the application and be consistent with names of tags and things like that during the runtime. Screen groups is another advantage, important feature, recommended feature of InduSoft Web Studio. For instance, in this application, when I go to the runtime, I keep switching the screen in the middle, but the header and the status bar remains the same, because I always want to show the date, the time, the main navigation buttons, the logo. So instead of repeating those controls in every single screen, I created here a group of screen called Startup, and I have here the header as one screen, the status bar as a different screen, so you can create different screens and group them together in a screen group, and during the runtime, open the entire group at once. So you do not have to keep repeating controls that should be visible all the time throughout different screens. You can share the background picture if you use background pictures like this one, and if they should be used by more than one screen, then you can very easily come to the screen attributes right here and use the option to shared image and just define the name of the image here, and different screens can share the same background image. We talked about linked symbols, external functions for translation. It's recommended to avoid spaces and special characters in file names like screen names or recipe names. When you write your scripts, it's also recommended to add comments, so it's easier for you or someone else to evolve or maintain that script in the future. We recommend using the history lifetime. So for any history tasks in InduSoft, for instance, in alarms and events, you can go to project options and define a history lifetime, for instance, of 30 days. So all the alarm and event history older than 30 days will be automatically deleted by InduSoft. And for each trained worksheet, you can also go on Advanced and define a history lifetime per group, per trained worksheet. For instance, if I define here 365 days, all the data older than 1 year for this group will be automatically deleted from the history database, so it doesn't keep growing forever when eventually you would not have enough resources, storage memory in the computer for all the data. So we recommend avoiding using functions that open dialogues like message box on the server, because when you have thin clients, if you press a button on the thin client and this button calls a function on the server, in a script that is executed on the server, the message box or the dialogue will be displayed on the server, not on the thin client. So the recommendation is whenever you need message boxes or any function that opens a dialogue, call those functions directly on the thin client, directly on the screen, on the button or screen scripts, never on a background task. Also, as much as possible, use relative paths, and you can use the getAppPath function from InduSoft to get the current path of the application. So if you move the application from one directory to the other, from one computer to the other, scripts and hyperlinks keep working. Avoid repeated scripts. We have the global procedures here under global procedures, where you can create your own functions and call them from any scripting interface in the InduSoft Web Studio. So instead of repeating the same script over and over and over in several buttons, you can create one function, write the script just once, and from the buttons, just call that function. It's much easier to modify this script in the future if you have to do so. You can use onError resume next and onError go to 0 for any script between those two statements will be protected against errors. So even if you have division by zeros or try to instantiate objects that do not exist, the script will not stop there. It will keep going, and you can treat the error gracefully. If you use the database functions to query data from the database, make sure you call the DB cursor close to release this information from the memory after you are done with the data. When using the recipe task to save and load settings, we strongly recommend using the option Save as XML, as it will allow you to add or remove items from the recipe in the future without losing compatibility with the recipe files that already exist. For the connection between the thin clients and the server, here under Project Web, we recommend enabling the web tunneling gateway and enabling SSL security socket layer on your web server on IIS. So in this case, the connection between the thin client and the server, number one, will be more secure because it will be encrypted, and number two, will not require additional ports to be open in the firewall. Another tip, we have a built-in driver called TXRX, which implements ASCII protocol, so it's very common to use this driver to read data from barcode readers, RFID readers, that just stream the information through a ASCII protocol. And with the TXRX driver, you can very easily get the information from a barcode reader, RFID reader, or scales and get this information into a string tag. Tips to optimize the performance: when you read data from PLCs that uses addresses instead of tags, as much as possible, keep the communication map with the PLC in sequential addresses, so it will reduce the number of communication blocks and improve the overall communication performance. You can, in the main driver sheets or on the OPC driver sheets, there is a column for scan, and you can select the option screen or auto for tags that you only use to display on the screen. Do not use for alarms, for history, for reports, for anything else. So we automatically enable the communication when the tag is being visualized, and disable the communication when the tag is not being visualized to avoid wasting communication performance and bandwidth to read a tag that is not being visualized at that moment. You can adjust the send period for communication with thin clients here under Project Web. So this is the period of time that the server uses to update information to the thin clients. So you can increase this number to minimize the bandwidth, the traffic in the network, or decrease this number to update the thin clients faster. If you use trained controls in your application, especially when the trained control is reading data from a database, we strongly recommend going to advanced and enabling the option decimation that can, when you query data for a long period of time, like months or years, it will help to reduce drastically the time in the traffic in the network to bring the data to the screen, since the decimation pretty much queries the data from the database, but filters the data before sending the data to the thin client, and sends to the thin client only the minimum number of points that you need to visualize the curves with the resolution that your application has. Avoid large pictures, objects, and few effects when designing applications to low-end HMIs running Windows CE as much as possible, even for the PC. Use PNG instead of bitmaps because they provide about the same quality but with a much smaller file size. And it means it will be faster to download and open screens, especially on the thin clients. InduSoft offers several troubleshooting tools that should be used during the tests of the application. And when you are done with the application, we recommend clear the database files. So if you have any tags or expressions here, you can delete from all the tabs, clear all the expressions from here. Disable the option Save to Disk from Logwin to make sure it does not keep saving logs. delete the history files from the HST alarm and the log files from the web dump subfolder to have an application clear of history data. Use the option to remove unused tags. This option here from the development environment. So clean the application from tags that have been created but are no longer used. Make sure that under project preferences, you do not leave InduSoft configured right here to generate logs continuously, which would eventually could lead to a lack of storage memory in the computer. And finally, run the verify command here under the Home tab. Run the verify command and make sure that in the output window you do not have any errors in your application. Then create a backup, deploy, and hopefully run for a long time. Those were the main tips and tricks and recommendations I would like to pass to you. And now I will open for Q&A. So again, if anyone has any questions or any comments, feel free to write them at the chat box on the webinar WebEx toolbar at the top of your monitor, or even on the Q&A box also on the top of your monitor. So one question here is if the SMA is supported on Windows platforms, and the answer is yes. The Studio Mobile Access, the SMA, is available on Apple, Google, but also on Internet Explorer. Internet Explorer 10 and newer supports HTML5. So if you're using a Windows Phone or a Windows desktop with Internet Explorer 10 or newer, it will support the SMA solution, as well as Safari for iPads and iPhones, and the Chrome for Androids on tablets, cell phones, or netbooks. Another question is where we can find information about packaging machine on the InduSoft website. So if we go here to InduSoft.com, InduSoft.com, we have industries. One of the industries is packaging. And if you go there, we provide general information about the industry, and then the case studies, like for instance, the Mother Parker's case study is available to download from here as well. We also have a library of videos about packaging, so this webinar will be in this web page hopefully soon. And we have sample applications in a brochure specifically for the packaging industry. So you have all those resources readily available in a single page from the InduSoft website, as well as a list of certified system integrators that can assist you to develop applications for the packaging industry. So with that, we have covered the questions we have so far. I would like to thank every and each one of you for the time today. I hope the information in this webinar was useful and helpful in your activities, and I hope to see you again in the next InduSoft webinar. Thank you, everybody, and have a great evening or a great day, wherever you are. Thank you, everybody.